Hey guys, good morning. It is the 12th of May, and I do have a kiddo appointment during Mornings with Mo time. So I'm going to record stuff. It might not be as long as Mornings with Mo's typically is, but I did want to give you guys something to watch. I should be back on in time for the opening of the Karen Reed stuff. But, mom stuff comes first. But I've got a new Diet Coke shirt, so I feel special. I was gonna wear another shirt, but I realized it had curse words on it, and I'm going to a Christian school. So, for a Monday, the fact that I caught that, I should get like a parade and or, some kind of float. That being said, let's hop into the news. I hope you had a great weekend. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And that includes moms who stepped up, our bonus moms, our aunties, and, female relatives who stepped up when, maybe things happened. And to those moms who never got to hold their babies, who had to say goodbye to their angels before they were born or, as they were born, you count too. And I hope you had a Mother's Day. For those of you who lost your moms, or if Mother's Day was hard, I hope that this week will be better. If Mother's Day was great, I hope you got a great day, and this week will be great. So let's get into this. A man stumbled across a hoard of priceless coins while out for a nature walk, face to face with history. Now, why can't I ever find anything but trash and, well, trash when I go on nature walks? Why is it some people find dead bodies and some people find treasure? Also, why do you think I gave up running other than the fact that I got hurt? I have watched true crime long enough to realize that being a runner is a prime sort of candidacy spot for finding all of the, crime leavings, if you will. An ordinary spring day quickly became extraordinary after a nature-loving metal detectorist. We need to call recovery addict. This is cool. I wonder if he knows this story, because I bet this is probably something that just, well, I was going to say tickle some pink, but I realized that that might not be the right, colloquialism to use. More something I would say for me, but I'm sure he just geeked out over this because uh, you know, having a metal detector and finding this big find. Marius Manjanak confirmed the discovery to Fox News Digital. So he found a cache of ancient treasure. He said he found the hoard in a field near Lechavice, a small village in southern Romania. Oh, well, I don't typically walk in southern Romania. I mean, I would, but I don't know how much I like garlic. And I know Romania isn't Transylvania, but I'm an American with bad geography skills. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that if your country ends in Vania, I should just have garlic and a wooden stake. Look, I've read Cliff Notes, not Bram Stoker. My detector and I went out alone, as I often do for exercise, and to relax in the forest and fields, he wrote in his post, which was translated from Romanian to English. Now, in a Facebook group, he said that he found the coins on a beautiful Saturday that didn't foreshadow anything of what was to come. I didn't think that this day would surprise me and bring me face to face with history. But suddenly his metal detector began beeping, and soon Manjanak was looking at a hoard of approximately 1,469 Roman coins. After seeing the silver denarii, Manjanak said that his heart was beating quite hard, even though I was pinching myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming, the hobbyist said. See, and if you did that in rural Indiana, you'd either find, well, shells of freedom seeds or, well, pennies. Like there are no ancient Roman denarii up in, Indiana. At least allegedly, I don't know. Maybe the Romans came to America too. Who whose were these coins and what were they intended for? Fox News Digital asked Magjanak, and he estimated that the coins were approximately 2,000 years old. After two strenuous days of photographing the coins, he handed them over to town hall in Lecce Nua. Now, Again, I would tell no one that I'd found these, and, but there would be signs like, the tennis ball cannons on the top of my roof and perhaps, well, a Corvair in my front yard that wasn't on cement blocks, and I'd have all the eggs I want, which is weird because I don't need eggs, but my family does. And when I say I don't eat eggs, I mean just like I can handle occasionally scrambled eggs, but to eat an egg on its own for no other reason than to eat an egg, takes those eggs away from the glorious possibility of becoming brownies. And who am I to deprive the world of more brownies? More brownies equals more peace and more happiness. So who am I to deprive the world of that for a disgusting hard-boiled egg? That being said, please feel free to correct me on my egg dislike in the comment section below. Now, the metal detector is concluded. I hope one day I can take my child to the museum and explain to him how lucky I was to discover a page in our people's history. Okay, for history, I'd give them most of the coins. I'd keep about 100, not gonna lie, which is why God never lets me find important, cultural stuff. He knows I couldn't handle it. The treasure dated back to the Dacians, who were unsuccessfully warring against the Roman Empire in the 2nd century AD. So, again, if you're out, and I really do want to send this to Recovery Addict, this is pretty cool. Make sure to keep your eyes peeped. We're all going to be out with metal detectors now. Look, I wonder, hey, if it can help me find soda cans, I got 6 kids to put through college. I'm not going to lie. We might be picking up them, cans, except I don't think Indiana gives you anything for them. We're gonna have to take those cans to a state that honors them. Well, now they say insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, I don't know who I would trust more, let's say Mussolini with his newest government plan, or Elizabeth Holmes' partner who is apparently raising millions for a blood testing startup. I mean, could you have made a Hot Pocket testing startup? Could you make a red dye number 40 testing startup? But no, another blood one? Well, you guys, I mean, there you go.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, because everyone's gonna wanna give Elizabeth Holmes' sugar daddy or, well, just partner a bunch of money for a blood test startup, sure. Elizabeth Holmes' partner is reportedly raising millions for a blood testing startup. Elizabeth Holmes' romantic partner and father of her children reportedly has raised millions of dollars to start a new blood testing company that is strikingly similar to the one that landed the Theranos founder in federal, pound you in the behind prison. Now, the fundraising comes as Billy Evans, the heir to the hotel or to a hotel fortune, is pitching his new company, Hemanthius. Theranos, Hemanthius. Sir, have you thought about selling, microwave popcorn? I mean, who does this? Who does "Hey, we just cheated a bunch of people out of money," or at least my, baby mama did. I'm sure people will totally trust me with their money. According to the New York Times, now Evans' pitch is a health testing company that can make diagnosis from the user's blood, urine, and saliva. Yeah, we already have tests for that. Thank you. Now, the pitch is, and those made by Holmes's Helms or Theranos share a few significant similarities. Now, launched Theranos in 2003 after her health testing tech startup received a significant investment from high-profile multimillionaires. She claimed that her company had developed technology to rapidly and accurately test small amounts of blood to provide a diagnosis. Meanwhile, in January, a patent, Hamathius, or whatever you say, indicated that it uses its technology to test sweat, urine, saliva, and small amounts of blood for diagnoses. Um, I'm gonna need to put to see you put these samples in the little doot doot machine, and then I'm gonna need someone completely unrelated, like someone completely from the studio audience to come here and go, "Doot, doot, 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 doot," and then I'm gonna need all the, really smart sciencey people to come in and "Doot, doot, doot, doot," on your machine before I trust you, sir, because, birds of a feather flock together. Your baby mama tends to be a lying hoe bag, so I'd kinda like to, have someone test your math. Now, it won't be me, but someone, 'cause really. Now, the company is led by Evans, who does have 2 children with Holmes and was incorporated in February 2024 and has indicated that it was set to begin running tests for animals before conducting tests on humans. Now, Theranos' claims about its technology helped, its valuation bloom, reaching a 9 billion peak in 2014, but bombshell investigations from the Wall Street Journal revealed that Theranos' claims were largely false and the tests were illegitimate, providing false results. The scandal peaked when the company was dissolved in 2018. Later that same year, Holmes and the company's president were charged with fraud, and Holmes was sentenced to 11 years in prison in 2022 for defrauding investors. Now, Prometheus's marketing materials reviewed by the New York Times show that the company's technologies will use lasers to scan blood, saliva, or urine from pets and analyze the samples on a molecular level. The technology then would require only a matter of seconds to detect illnesses, cancers, or infections. Now, according to the Times report, the marketing materials also say that their long term goal is to develop a small, wearable version of the device for humans. Yeah, because I'm going to trust you with my body. Like, you can't even, not lie on tests. No. Several investors have already passed on the pitch, according to the Times report. While reportedly, being advised by Holmes, Evans has been able to raise almost $20 million from friends and other investors. Evans met Holmes in 2017 amid the fraud investigation, which resulted in her imprisonment. He does live in Texas with their children, while Holmes is serving time in federal prison about 2 hours away. Yeah, look, I am not I am not a financial or legalologist, but I wouldn't invest in some heifer who has already been adjudicated, guilty of fraud when her baby daddy is coming out with the same damn company, just a different name. That would be a hard pass. RSVP, no, I'd rather not have the steak or the chicken. Now, my favorite movie as a child, in fact, I will probably watch this tonight because I love this movie. I wanted to grow up to be Christina Applegate and go into fashion and, well, not pretend to be a mom, but like this set my life goals as, 11-year-old Mo. I was going to be Christina Applegate when I grew up. Again, not minus the Married with Children's episode, but I was gonna be her from this Sue Ellen. Christina Applegate looks back at the complete flop, hell no, and write in the comments if this was one of your favorite movies. May or may not have had a taboo crush on her ginger brother. It was taboo because have you seen my skin tone? I mean, look, I have to stay away from Irish men. Otherwise, our children couldn't even go out in the sun. We'd have to dress them up like Michael Jackson's child blanket. Uh, I still love Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Love it, love it, love it. Christina Applegate and Jamie Lynn Siegler read some emails from listeners on their latest episode of their podcast, Messy with Christina Applegate and Jamie Lynn Ziegler. Look, I don't know. I know it's not Zegler, but I think it's Siegler, but who knows? And they seized upon the one in part because it was short. Would Christina be willing to talk about her role in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead? It was my favorite movie growing up. Thanks. Indeed, Applegate was right on top of that. She seemed eager to explain that she's now proud of the 1991 movie, which was neither a critical or box office success at the time, but has emerged as a cult favorite. As such, she considerably is regretful of how she sneered at the whole experience back in the day. I didn't want to do it because it was a commercial film. I was so into indies back then. I was like, I'm only going to do independent film acting. Applegate said, deploying a fake above it all voice. I was such a effing asshat. Now, this is the thing I want to hear. Like, every one of us have had insufferable a hat moments where in our youth, in our ridiculousness, we are utter butt monkeys. And I'm glad that she can admit it. The Married with Children star continued, I needed a job, man. Did you have fun? Segler, who counts herself as the one who loves the movie, asked. I did. I had some personal stuff going on off the scenes, which will be in the book, that was pretty horrific. So there are some really hard days, but yeah, I loved everybody. But at the same time, I was still like, this is selling out, she explained, lipping into her faux obnoxious voice, which sounded like a weird cross between a Gen Z TikToker and Beavis or Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. And then it went and it made no money at all, she continued, like it came out and was a complete flop. And here we are, I'm 53 years old, but I was 18 when I did it. And I think 18 or 19, people are still quoting that movie. And I've watched it with my daughter a gajillion times. Applegate shared that her daughter not only loves the movie, but has also developed an appreciation for her character. She loves when Sue Ellen was just swell, and my ring game was so rad. She said, "That's how I wore rings." As for her overall wardrobe, Applegate reflected, "That's how I wore clothes. I wore Doc Martens, but obviously the shoulder pads and stuff are real embarrassing to me. I was always embarrassed by the fashion show because I was like, couldn't we have it actually be cool fashion and not like weird?" But that was the movie. Incidentally, don't tell mom, the costume designer Carol Ramsey is still in the biz after all these years and has worked on 5 Merchant Ivory productions. Shoulder pads aside, though, Applegate is quick to point out what movie has a bunch of drag queens steal their car, and people quote it all the time. The dishes are done, man, and all that stuff. I feel very proud about it now. I just hated that I was a a-hole um, at the time. She clarified, I didn't mean to anyone. I was just like, I just want to do independence. Oh God. You know what you want to do when you do independence? You don't make any funny money, if you will. Only she didn't use the funny word. No one ever sees those, Segler asked. You make like $2. So after that, I was like, yes, commercial movies are the way to go. I want to make money now. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead was recently remade. No. Apparently as a BET Plus original film starring Simone Joy Jones, Nicole Richie, and June Squibb. Um, no. I will be watching the original when I watch Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That being said, I also wanna see As Told by Ginger because Paramount, Plus has the entire 3-season arc, and yes, I wanna nerd out over a '90s cartoon I never got to finish. You are correct. It's important. Uh, a New Jersey home suddenly exploded, killing 2 people, and the destruction was all caught by doorbell cameras. A New Jersey home exploded overnight, well, unfortunately unaliving 2 people in a fiery flash that rocked a sleepy neighborhood, officials said. Now, the bodies of a woman and a man who have not been publicly identified were recovered from the remains of the home Sunday along Tranquility Court. Just when I think I'm gonna do a straight news story, the house exploded on Tranquility Court right next to, Exploderation Bay. Tranquility okay. Good night, and look how far this dude's out here just ringing the doorbell, gonna talk to his friend Maud. Out back behind him, he's got the whole, he's not paying attention to an explosion walking away motif behind him. Neighborhood doorbell cameras captured the moment the South Jersey home suddenly exploded around 2 a.m. with the house completely engulfed in flames just minutes after it went up, and first responders were racing to the scene. Obviously, nothing remains. Officials described the emergency as an intense fire, with neighbors confirming a loud blast rang through the neighborhood as they woke up to see flames shooting in all directions from the house. It was terrifying. I was terrified. Neighbor Susan Pinto told the local outlet, because I'd never heard an explosion like that in my life. And it was just the house was basically burning to the ground very, very quickly. Local resident Jimmy Gibson said that he could not believe how fast the whole house went up in flames after the initial explosion, which he described as a really loud boom. The whole house was in flames already that fast as soon as the explosion happened, he told ABC6. Now, two nearby houses were also damaged in the fire, including the home of Jill Ralph, who said half of the siding on her house has melted off during the fire due to the high heat. Now, officials did not confirm the identities of the deceased. Neighbors told the local outlet that the man they believe died in the home was a nice guy who could always be seen walking his dog around the neighborhood. Now, the cause of the fire has yet to be confirmed, with the investigation ongoing. So keep a lookout on this. Maybe it was a faulty gas line or something. But there's and this is my speculation hat. So again, I'm a speculologist, not, an actualologist. That being said, I mean, the only other unlikely scenario might be that it was a self-deletion, unaliving with the house set to go off by nefarious means, but that's more Looney Tunes and, Law and Order or Law and Crime SUV kind of, along came a spider kind of, stuff. So that's more of a Hollywood thought. It might have been just a loose, leaky thing, and we should get more news as we go on. Now, gird your earloins, because it's time for Lord Chippy. Because justice is a journey, but Lord Chippy awaits. Now, I don't even know where to effing begin with this freak of nature. I mean, this makes me hope that when the sea monkeys do take over the leftover ruins of the earth, that they make a better society than we do. Quote, dressing up as skeleton, a man unalived his mother, then drove to his sister's house with her corpse covered in McDonald's wrappers and household goods. Who the hell smiles like this in their mugshot? It's not your school ID photo. Why are you smiling? What is going on? He's like, I was really proud. I did it all by my own self. It's homicide, and I helped. It's not like shake and bake, you dingus. A Pennsylvania man allegedly red-rummed his mother, then drove to his sister's house with her body inside the car, covering it with a mix of boxes, McDonald's wrappers, and household goods, as you do. You could have just put it in the passenger seat and get in the high occupancy vehicle lanes. In what his lawyer likened to respectfully dressing up a skeleton. Dude, get a different defense attorney. According to the police and local reports, Kevin An, 31, is charged with first-degree murder and assault, as well as abuse of a corpse, in connection to the death of his mother, Hyun An, 61, in Maryland earlier this year, according to local NBC affiliate WGAL. The woman's death was ruled a homicide by strangulation and a traumatic brain injury. Baltimore County State Attorney Scott Schellenberger told the Baltimore Sun on Saturday that An is facing murder and assault charges in Baltimore County, where Hyun An lived in Owing Mills, after allegedly unaliving the woman there sometime in March. Northern Lancaster County's officials say it was An's estranged sister in Penn Township who reported him to police after a suspicious incident at her residence on March 24th, according to a police press release. The woman allegedly told police that An, who is transient and not generally welcomed at home per the cops, showed up at her house driving her mother's 2022 Toyota RAV4 and was acting weird. The sister and her husband, who came outside to confront An, both allegedly saw an unresponsive person positioned across the rear seat and floor of his vehicle, partially covered in household goods and trash, according to police. Now, An was initially charged with abuse of a corpse in Lancaster County. He appeared at a preliminary hearing last month where officers testified that his mother had been deceased for at least 30 to 40 hours inside her vehicle before she was discovered by his sister and her husband, according to the Daily Voice. Now, An's attorney argued that he was allegedly mourning his mother in his own way, as if he were dressing up a skeleton.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I mean, do what now, Skippy the lawyer? I mean, that is an interesting idea. Look, he was playing dress up with her corpse. He wasn't destroying it. I mean, okay. I mean, you can make any argument you want, but I don't know if that one's gonna. It's interesting bait. I don't know if a fish is gonna bite. Where in the flippin' flapjack did we keep finding these messed up, ridiculous, and demonic women that keep touching young children? I mean, every daggone day, it's another one of these thunder cows. I'm about to send them to, I don't know, Lord of the Fly well, no, not Lord of the Flies Island, that'd be like a Christmas shopping day for them. Hell, the Hunger Games Island. Not so happy Mother's Day, church volunteer headed to prison after grossifying her son's 13-year-old buddy at a birthday party. Ugh, just Lord Chippy, I don't wanna nope. A Texas mom is spending her Mother's Day behind bars. Well, she's no longer a mom in the Church of Mo. She's been excommunicated, and now she's just a heifer. After being found guilty of inappropriate conduct with her son's 13-year-old friend, jurors convicted 46-year-old Natalie Sorrells on 2 charges of indecency with a child grossness, while they acquitted her of 2 counts of aggravated SA of a child, according to court records. A judge sentenced Sorrells to serve 2.5-year sentences on each of the charges, meaning that she will spend a total of 5 years in prison. Excuse me. Now, the alleged incidents happened back in 2023 in Rockwall County, which is in the Dallas region. According to a probable cause arrest affidavit obtained by local Fox affiliate KDFW, cops started investigating when the victim's mother saw deleted texts between him and Sorrells in which she reportedly called him babe. Now, weeks later, the boy told his mom that Sorrells had touched him inappropriately. And the bravery of that young man coming forward, again, we all know the sort of cultural milieu that's somewhat prevalent, especially if you ask men, like, where were these hot women when I was a kid? Well, hiding that there were predators, I don't know. Maybe they had a good amount of sense in their head that they would go to jail and now people just don't give a crap. I don't know. But this is abuse. These boys will now struggle for the rest of their lives with boundaries. You know, I have never understood the disconnect that we have when we will fiercely protect our daughters, but if this happens to our son, there is a certain segment of population that's like, "Lucky." No, these are young kids who are being forced into acts, forced into relationship with power dynamics that are so gross and abusive that if you put your daughter in there, you'd have a heart attack, but if you put your son in it, apparently it's a rite of passage. So, no, I don't co-sign that. Gross is gross, female or not, whether you have boobs or not doesn't mean you aren't a gross person. And I wish we could, get that kinda understanding. It does seem like the pendulum has switched. If you remember, after Mary Kay Letourneau, the other few cases that would pop up, "Oh, I was drinking and I was depressed," and they would get, like, probation. Well, now they're getting the book thrown at them. So I think we finally figured out that just because you have boobs and a uterus doesn't mean you can't be a monster. The more you know. Now, according to a probable oh, I'm sorry, I read that. The police took the boy for a forensic interview at Rockwall Children's Advocacy Center, where he told investigators about several incidents where she had inappropriately touched him. Specifically, the victim described 2 times that they had contact of a sexual nature. Once in the car after she picked him up from a football game, and the other time at her son's birthday. You are so gross. If this happened, you have been adjudicated. This happened. You discuss it. Look, there were crimes in medieval times and current Sharia times, where you touch something you're not supposed to touch, you kinda lose this particular object of touchery. I'm kinda okay with that. Look, table flipping Jesus is my favorite Jesus. Now, the victim also reported that, Sorrell's husband had called during one of the encounters asking if she was cheating on him, and the victim also alleged that Sorrells also brought tobacco and alcohol for he and his friends. Now, police arrested Sorrells in February 2024. She served 6 days in jail before posting her bond. Her attorney was not immediately, able to respond for comment. At the time of her arrest, Sorrells was a volunteer at Lake Point Church in Rockwall. The church sent KDFW a statement saying the alleged abuse did not happen at a church event or on its property. Well, covering your ass is still covering one's ass is close to godliness. We were informed last week that one of our volunteer youth workers was arrested for illegal contact with a minor. While our current understanding is that no inappropriate activity happened on church premises at any church event, and that the minor was not involved under the direct leadership of the volunteer, out of an abundance of caution, we immediately informed Lake Point parents and restricted the volunteer from any access to minors at the church and removed her from her volunteer position. When you get fired from a volunteer position, ma'am, again, bon voyage, heifer, thunder cow. We will not miss you. Have fun in prison. Affix chains, padlocks, and cinder blocks. A man admits to helping an on duty cop dump a body of a victim in a river after alleged murder in a patrol car. Well, they always say help your local police officer. They just never tell you, like, doing crimes or doing good. We really should be more clear on that, well, McGruff commercial, take a bite out of crime, like with the cops doing the crimes or, just general crime. A Tennessee man who helped an on-duty Memphis cop dump the body of a victim allegedly murdered in a patrol car has pled guilty. Joshua M. Rogers, 33, faces up to 70 months or 5 years, 10 months behind bars after he entered a guilty plea on Thursday to the U.S. Department of Justice. In a press release, according to the feds, Memphis police officer Patrick J. Ferguson on January 5th, 2021, kidnapped 30-year-old Robert Lee Howard Jr. at his home at gunpoint and forced him into his patrol car, where he shot him in the head. Now, if you shoot someone point blank in the head in a patrol car, I would assume that would make quite a mess because you would have fine mist blood particle spray. So, how did he think he was going to get away with this? Prosecutors say Ferguson then enlisted the help of Rogers to dispose with the body. They transferred the body to Rogers's car, where they affixed chains, padlocks, and cinder blocks to the corpse and drove to the Wolf River in Memphis, where they dropped the body. The defendant in this case obstructed law enforcement from investigating and seeking justice on behalf of the victim, his family, and friends. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet K. Dillon of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division said in a statement, "I'm proud of the work by the Department of Justice in the prosecution of this case. Sentencing is scheduled for August the 6th. Now, as Long Crime previously reported, Ferguson, 34, is facing state charges of murder, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, abuse of a corpse, official misconduct, and official oppression. In May 2024, a federal grand jury issued an 8-count indictment with charges including federal civil rights, kidnapping, and weapon offenses. Now, both cases remain ongoing. The federal case is slated for November 3rd to go to trial, while Ferguson had a court hearing next month in the state case. Howard's girlfriend reported him missing the day after the killing, and authorities recovered Howard's body on January 10th, 2021. Cops arrested Ferguson and Rogers a few days later. A state grand jury indicted them in May 2021. A federal grand jury also indicted Rogers for conspiring to cover up a fatal shooting and destroying evidence. The Memphis Commercial Appeal obtained a probable cause affidavit that said investigators found that Ferguson made searches on his phone about how to clean up crime scenes and destroy evidence. Shouldn't a cop have a general kind of understanding? Yuri, follow me on this. But if you can speak to the evidence and it can tell you about the crime scene, then could you reverse engineer that and then figure out what generally cops look at a crime scene and, hide your crime? I mean, I know this is crazy because Yuri and Trooper Paul can paint with all the colors of true crime. They can hold the knife until they know all crime until. Look, Painting with the Colors of True Crime, the musical, is coming out soon. Now, cops haven't given a motive for the killing. Howard's family also sued Ferguson in federal court, claiming unlawful seizure, false arrest, and excessive force. So there are three new, guests of Lord Chippy. As always, justice is a journey, but Lord Chippy awaits. And while we wait for justice and our figurative leader, Lord Chippy, we will continue to monitor crimes and hope that our criminal justice system gets it right. Sometimes. Well, in exciting news, this lynx could be the first UK zoo-born cat to be successfully released into the wild. Now I want one. I know it's a wild animal, but I want one. Now, that being said, Dingus already fights me for half of my food anyways. I mean, I might become too skinny if I get a lynx. A lynx in England could be the first UK zoo-born cat to successfully be released in the wild. The 9-month-old Eurasian lynx, who was born in the Newquay Zoo in Cornwall, has been moved to southwestern Germany's Black Forest, which is an unusual move for animals born and raised in zoos. However, the request for a transfer was made due to the shortage of female lynxes in the European breeding program. Diana Gebhardt, the lynx breeding coordinator. I mean, how does one get to become the lynx breeding coordinator in Europe? Like, what do you have to have on your CV in order to be responsible for the mating habits of lynxes? Look, I don't want to take your job, ma'am. I'm just kind of like, do you have to enjoy watching animals reproduce? I mean, where does one come up with the, CV to become a lynx breeding coordinator? For the European Endangered Species Program was the one behind the, request. Basically, I'm Tinder for the zoo-born lynx, she told the BBC. Our nature is very fragmented due to railways and streets and cities, which means we've created a lot of barriers for lynxes, which leads to inbreeding. The animal will spend several months in an enclosure being monitored to see if it can withstand the new conditions. John Meek, curator of plants and animals at the Newquay Zoo, was there to oversee the transition. I'm a big boy, but I had a few tears in my eyes, Meek told the outlet. Nowadays, zoos are not here to keep animals in cages, they're here for conservation. And this is it, conservation in action. The Eurasian lynx, which can weigh over 60 pounds, are native to the UK but were wiped out in the wild around 1,300 years ago because of hunting and habitat loss. So, really cool. I kind of like the fact that we might, you know, be able to be better stewards of nature. Maybe we didn't know the best in the past, but there are ways that we can protect our future with common sense, with, making smart choices and being good stewards of the land. I would like to get sued like this, please. Can someone please call me Darth Vader so I can sue myself for 40K? Wait, I guess it doesn't work if you're self-employed and you call this a semi-professional hobby and not even a job. Ugh, damned by the facts again. An employee compared to Darth Vader at work wins 400, not 400, sorry, $40,000 in compensation. She kicked the Darth haters to the curb. An aggrieved UK worker, Lorna Rook, was awarded almost $40,000. So I'm guessing it would be pounds or something slightly numberless because I know there's a conversion, but I was promised there wasn't going to be math in this particular segment. After being compared to Darth Vader, an analogy that litigators deemed upsetting. Darth Vader is a legendary villain of Star Wars, and being aligned with his personality is insulting. No, I mean, look, I have often wished I had telekinesis and the power to make politicians shut the hell up. I think any one of us can be a little Darth Vadery. Just gonna throw that out there. Now, that being said, I would have realized I didn't have the high ground, and even with the Force, I ain't gonna be coordinated, so I'm not going after Obi-Wan. That being said, though, I think we've all had those moments where, like, with great power comes great effort, and my give a damn's busted, and we just wanna go on a little bit of a rampage. Just a little bit. That being said, I think we can all that's the problem with the Jedi and the Sith Lords. You can't just have one side or the other. You have to be life is in the gray and the Diet Coke. So there you go. Can we look at this Christmas miracle? Now, it is a junior size, so I had to size up, and it is a crop top, so I had to size up. But the Diet Coke is right on the boobular area. It is a post-Lenten miracle. Anywho, let's get back to this. Litigators, okay, so the employment judge, Catherine Ramsden, declared during the employment tribunal, which took place in London. Now, litigators deemed it harmful to be compared to a half human, half machine, a Star Wars baddie, who is known in films for force choking underlings who fail to carry out his orders. Well, again, have you seen what the stormtroopers do? I mean, the man was just tired of never having a competent employee ever. I mean, who hadn't been there? This office space opera broke out in 2021 after Rook, who had worked for the National Health Service's blood and transplant sector, was training or as a training and practice supervisor, was asked to take a Star Wars themed psychological test as a team building exercise. The questionnaire had participants answering questions to gauge their level of introversion, intuition, and whether they operated more on thoughts and feelings and how they perceive the world around them. Yeah, I've heard of the Briggs Myers, personality, but never the Star Wars Lucas, personality. So you're telling me the NHS is constantly overbooked. You can't get a GP to save your life unless you're in a small boat. But I'm not going to get into that because I'm not from the UK. Yeah, the taxes going up is basically a gajillion dollar hole where it takes 18 months to get seen by your GP. And God help you if you have the big C because you might never see an oncologist. At least this is how I see it from some of the stuff that I'm watching, and granted, I do tend to swerve more conservatarian even when I am reading UK politics and news, so maybe that's a slight exaggeration. Please, in the comment, tell me if I'm wrong, but the NHS has time to do this instead of time to, I don't know, figure out what the hell they're doing with stuff. They were then compared to Star Wars characters, of which there were 16 options who the company thought resembled these traits. While depicted in the films as a planet destroying Sith Lord, Darth Vader was described in the quiz as a very focused individual who could accelerate team synergy. If you know anything about Darth Vader, he's not really a team player. He's more what we like to call introvert type A and solitary kind of loner guy. Now, she didn't fill out the quiz herself as she had to take a personal phone call, but when the blood donation worker returned, she discovered that a colleague had taken it on her behalf and announced that the boss was psychologically a doppelganger of Darth Vader. Now, Rook found this comparison to the iconic villain whose real name was Anakin Skywalker. Like the New York Post is like, just for journalistic integrity, his real name was Anakin. He wasn't always Darth. Okay. Was highly unflattering and said it made her super unpopular in the workplace. She even cited it as one of the reasons she left the job the following month. While the tribunal agreed that the Darth Vader incident affected how the coworkers perceived her, they rejected her claim that it was the reason behind her resignation. They ultimately ruled it a detriment, a legal term meaning harm or loss that someone suffers, and awarded her 28,989 pounds, which is about $38,729 in compensation. Now, this isn't the first time that an employee has been compensated over an unusual seeming complaint. In 2022, a Frenchman who said he was fired for being too boring was vindicated after a court ruled that his company's former definition of fun, which involved excessive alcohol consumption and simulated sex acts, violated his right. That sounds like the only office I would be able to function at. But there you go. Um, do what now? I'm sorry. I just got do what now? A teacher smears peanut butter all over herself in class, and it's actually a brilliant lesson. In what? Grossness? Disgustingness? Peanut butter jelly time. An elementary school teacher smartly used food to teach her students a lesson. Kaylee Sloan teaches creative writing to first and second graders. To teach a valuable lesson about where the youngsters went wrong with their assignment to write about. Oh, sorry, guys. Mr. Mo is taking the boys to school, and I forgot to turn off the alarm. So I am sorry. Hopefully, everyone's pacemakers are still on top. So, in order to teach a valuable lesson about where the youngsters went wrong with their assignment to write how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, she decided to get creative and make the sandwich following the instructions they wrote. Okay. All right. This makes more sense. I'm like, what in the performance art are we doing here? In a viral TikTok video, which has garnered more than 53 million views, Sloan said to her class, I'm going to read some of your responses on how to make a peanut butter and jelly, and then I'm going to copy exactly what your writing says. The first one says, you get the bread, you get the peanut butter, you get the jelly. Did I make it? Immediately after the teacher asked that, there was a collective no in the class. That's not how you make it, the students shouted. Sloan read another response that instructed her to put the bread flat. All right, it's pretty flat. I feel like that's good, she said after pressing the bread down on the table. Sloan continued reading, spread jelly and jam on bread, which she dunked her head in the jelly jar before smearing it on the packaged bread. She did the same thing on the other side with the peanut butter, and the students shrieked at the sight. That's not how excuse me, that's not how you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, one adorable student shouted. That's what it said to do, though, responded Sloan. The lesson got messy when Sloan read another assignment that told her to put on peanut butter. Wait, I need to put it on? Sloan asked the bunch before putting the messy food all over. Okay, no, I have a texture thing. Look, I'd have had the heebie jeebies with putting my hands in a jar. All the heebie jeebies. So I love the practical lesson that she's given, and God bless her for being a teacher, because I would not be smearing myself with peanut butter for nothing. I'd let the dangling participles stay. You can keep it, keep your bad grammar. Also, I should be the last person teaching someone grammar. Zach, am I right or am I right? So I love it. It's a great idea, but you had me at yeah, no. This is just look. Very cute idea, very concrete way of explaining somewhat nebulous concepts to young kids, about descriptive writing because and taking something ubiquitous as, making a peanut butter sandwich and explaining how you need to be very clear because this isn't going to be ubiquitous for everyone. So you're writing. Oh my god, can we send this to Yuri? Oh my god, Yuri, see, this is why reports have to be so, precise because the way you wrote the report, I coulda ended up smearing peanut butter all over me. I'm not buying Jiffy. Look, I have an Aunt Bev costume tomorrow. I will Auntie Bev will be back, but I'm not smearing peanut butter all over me. That's just you had me at no ho. You had me at hell no. Anyhoozle, you guys, thank you for joining me. As always, I am so thankful that we got to spend time and grateful. Again, happy belated Mother's Day to all those, bonus moms, regular moms, moms who never held their babies, and, dads that are doing the job of both. But there you go. Remember, as always, to be kind to yourself, kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because kindness doesn't equal doormat. I will see you guys later today for Karen Reed. Sorry for the recording, but mom stuff comes first. May the power of Diet Coke persuade us.